I don't know about you, but I take grief really hard, no matter what type of grief it is or when. I always seem to get my feelings hurt. What is grief? According to dictionary.com, grief is mental or emotional suffering or distress caused by loss or regret. The psychological definition of grief is an intense emotional experience triggered by a loss. There are many different types of grief. Some types of grief are more tragic than others, and this can include the death of a loved one, loss of a job, divorce, or retirement. Moving, being unwell, being separated, graduating, or getting married are some less evident losses. Have you ever had to deal with the death of a loved one? It could be traumatic and the worst pain you'll ever have to go through. In her article, Mary Lou states, "The grief we feel is caused by our loss, and mourning is the process of adapting to the losses in our life. Through the complex and personal process of mourning, we acknowledge the pain of loss, feel the pain, and then live past it. How we each mourn depends upon our state of readiness and our perception of loss. There are 5 stages of grief, and these stages include shock and denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance." Denial is spiritual anesthesia, said Monroe, LA. Denial is ignoring the truth of a situation in order to suppress your feelings so that you are not crushed by the dreadful reality of death. Many individuals refuse to accept denial. However, grief necessitates that you acknowledge your existence and that death is eternal, and you need to move past the stage of denial. Anger. Anger is a strong emotion you feel when you feel as if something or someone is unfair or unacceptable. You could feel angry because of stress, financial challenges, work, or relationship issues. According to Kubler-Ross, pain from a loss is often redirected and expressed as anger. When you're going through the grieving process, you could start to feel angry and wonder, why me? Or what did I do to deserve this? Many people also feel these emotions. In many cultures, some people are not allowed to feel angry. Some people may be used to avoiding it more than confronting this feeling. Bargaining. Bargaining is like negotiating. To bargain with something, you create an agreement in this stage. Bargaining helps you postpone your feelings towards the situation you're going through. Grief stage of bargaining enables you to maintain hope in the middle of tremendous pain you're going through by offering to do anything in exchange for having the misery you're experiencing alleviated. You most likely try to influence the circumstances. You frequently dwell on your flaws or regrets as individuals. When you reflect on your relationships with the person you are losing, you could see all the times when you felt distant from them or possibly hurt them. Depression is prolonged feelings of sadness or hopelessness. There are many causes of depression, like illness, inheritance, abuse, but since we are talking about the stages of grief, this is the stage that hits the hardest. Your mind is strongly focused in the present. You begin to experience the loss of your loved one more intensely during the stage of grief. The loss of a loved one is a very depressing situation and is a typical and acceptable reaction. You may find yourselves withdrawing, being less social, and speaking to others less about what you're going through. Acceptance. Acceptance is the ability to accept the fact that you're going through an intense experience. This is the stage where you learn to live with what has happened to you. This is a very hard stage to get to. It can happen after years or months or even weeks for some people. Acceptance and the idea of being alright or okay with what has happened are frequently confused. Instead, we are no longer fighting against the facts of our circumstances or making an effort to change them. In this stage, you have acknowledged that your loved one is no longer physically present and accept the reality is the new reality. You learn to live with it, but through time, as we gradually come to terms with acceptance, we realize that we are unable to maintain the past in its entirety. We must readjust because it's endured permanent change. Your religious backgrounds have a big impact on how you cope with tragedy. While some cultures continue their rituals of mourning long after the funeral, others choose to stop when the services are over. Religions themselves can have extremely diverse traditions that differ from one place to another. Undoubtedly, many of us have traditions and beliefs that might reduce the traumatic experience of losing a loved one. If you believe in God, a creator, or higher power, then you are more likely to cope with loss easier than others, and this isn't always the case. Death is complex and a tough experience, and it does take longer for some to grieve. There is no specific time period for any of the grief changes, or the grief stages. Some people are able to process the loss of a loved one a lot faster than other people. For some people, it could take months to years. It just depends on how intense that person impacted your life. You just have to remember to take care of yourself, and it won't last for long. Some might feel that it's easy to talk to others about their feelings, and some feel that isolating themselves is the best way to cope. The feeling of missing your loved one will never go away, but that pain you feel does ease over time. And I have some names here.